If you're a young man or woman that's going to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, I feel for you. I think you're in a place that you don't want to be, and I can understand that. I had to go a few times, take a few bouts before I finally connected. And what I want to talk about today is sponsorship. If you don't have a sponsor, you should get one. But there's something that's very, very important. And I see this too many times, and I've seen it firsthand. When you're picking a sponsor, if they're a little weird, they're not like you, they talk too much, they look down at you, they follow you home. I listened to a woman who had experienced all of that, a young woman, and she obviously had a woman sponsor. The men stick with the men and the women. And she actually followed her into the house and made coffee and for the both of them. And this poor girl didn't stand up for herself and say, look, I want to go to bed. My story here is if you're looking for a sponsor, by all means get one right away. But the problem is you may not like them, but you don't know what kind of help you're going to get because you don't know what to expect. But when the little signs show up that they're a little overpowering, they're bossy, they don't seem to be on the up and up. A lot of it is judgmental on their part. What you want to do is fire them. Get rid of them. AA is like a bag of mixed nuts. When you stick your hand in the bag, what you're going to pull out is a nut, and they're all different. The thing that you have to watch out for is also don't go after the lenient ones, the ones that are happy as got clam and they bring cookies and they bring cakes and they're friends with everybody and they just love everybody and they have nothing but wonderful stories and they never stop smiling. They're fake. They're not going to make it. When I first picked a sponsor, I picked an older guy, a lot older than me back then. And he was a counselor and he learned everything he knew on the street. He was a wino that lived in doorways and Morgan memorial boxes in the winter and had a tough life. His whole thing with helping and mentoring people was all because he lived on the street. He was not a therapist. He was not a clinical psychologist of any kind. He was just a very wise man. He was a tough guy, and he made it. And he made it to AA sometime. I don't know how long he was sober when I met him, but it was a good 20 years. And the amazing part about him, everybody liked him because he had so much wisdom. And the wisdom comes through pain. You gain more wisdom through pain. If you have everything in this world that you want, you have the home, the wonderful marriage, the cars, a great job, maybe you're retired and you live on the beach, more power to you. I think that's wonderful. But you're not as wise and you are definitely not as comfortable in your skin as somebody that's been beaten down by booze and drugs. The thing is, we end up so low down on the totem pole and we're ashamed of it and we're ashamed of where we were, where we came from, until we grow out of it and then we understand that was the grace of God that happened. And I truly and fervently believe that. I want to tell you of a story of a young woman who did go to AA. She had no money for for counselors or therapy or anything along that line. So she went to and joined a meeting, joined a group near her, went to a meeting, and asked someone to be their sponsor. Unfortunately, she picked someone that looked down on her, tell her everything she was doing wrong. She was pretty negative. She was sober, not that long, maybe a year or two. Um, she was bossy. And this poor woman didn't know any better. And she followed her around the meeting and told her, if you're going to work with me, you got to listen to me. And at one point, the woman followed her home in her car and said, let's have a cup of coffee, and went into this girl's home and forced herself to sit down with her and have a cup of coffee. And I'm sure this woman meant good. That is the wrong way to do anything. This young woman was frightened to death of her, and she'd been beaten up with this disease just like the rest of us. We don't know what to say. We don't know what to do. We don't know who our friends are anymore. We don't know anything. We're a mess. And then you run into a person like this, and you think you're doing the right thing. You don't want to leave. You don't want to quit. You're holding on to something that hopefully will help you out. The thing that I want to let people know is when they first go in, be very wary of everybody, because it's it's a sickness. And some people, they get high off of this helping people and they think they're some kind of a guru. It happens a lot. The real good sponsors will listen to you. They won't say a whole lot because they don't know how long you're going to stay. Because a good sponsor is not going to say a whole lot, simply because we see many, many, many people come in. You tell them, you give them an earful, and they're gone. After a while, you get sick and tired of talking to them. My sponsor had told me many years ago, he said, you're going to be okay, Larry. You're going to be okay. And he talked to me every week. And he said, I asked him one day, I said, why did you keep telling me that? He says, because I've seen thousands of people come through these doors. And the ones that are all happy, they don't stay around. The ones that are grumbling and asking questions, wondering how long this is going to take. You mean I can never drink again? I don't believe this. I don't know about these steps. Those are the people that make it, the people that fight tooth and nail and keep coming back to AA. Today, we have many wonderful drugs that help people stay away from booze. It's fantastic that scientists are coming up with what they're coming up with. Um, the addiction of everything from sex to booze to gambling. They have now drugs that works on the receptors in the human brain to adjust them, fix them, so that you don't get addicted to this anymore, which I find fascinating. There was an article in a Time magazine. Actually, it was the whole magazine. It was a special edition a few months back. And what these doctors have come up with is amazing. But the one thing that got me sober was a spiritual life. And you read anyone who is a clinical psychologist or intelligent people, these people all know that you're not going to have any long lasting sobriety unless you grow from the inside. Dr. Peterson, clinical psychologist, said there's absolutely no way any man or woman can stay sober for a long period of time without living a sober, spiritual life. And I agree with him. Along with Elon Musk said the same thing. Christopher Langdon said the same thing. These people have a 200 plus IQ. If they're saying it, along with Jordan Peterson, of course, I read this. I was sober for many, many years and had a sponsor that was just phenomenal. And he was a counselor for the city of Boston, and he helped anybody that worked for the city, many, many, many people. But these are the things that are gone. And they're not coming back because of where we've grown as far as drugs, therapy, the knowledge we've grown, the scientists we have. So let it be known, if you don't grow spiritually, you're going to have a difficult time. This is Larry McDonald. Have a great day celebrating sobriety.